News every 15 minutes, weather every 10, and sports twice an hour.
Newstalk KGVO, AM 1290 and now 101.5 FM.
You're listening to Montana Morning with Peter Christian.
A jury has ruled a shooting was legally justified. Good morning, everyone. It's Montana Morning. It is Election Day. It's Tuesday, November the 4th, 2014. Polls will be open here in about an hour. If you haven't already voted absentee, 7 a.m. till 8 p.m. And, of course, the most important thing is get out there and exercise your constitutional prerogative and vote. Our newscast this morning, sponsored by Kootenai Creek Village, the maintenance-free active adult community in Stevensville. Give them a call, 777-5387. Our top story this morning, a coroner's jury ruled late last night that the shooting of Christopher Heimel by Michael Gordon was, quote, legally justified. Deputy Missoula County Attorney Jason Marks has more.
The coroner's jury voted 5-2 that Michael Gordon was legally justified in shooting Christopher Heimel outside the Fox Club, and therefore the act did not constitute a crime.
According to Michael Gordon, the man who shot Christopher Heimel in the Fox Club Lounge parking lot September 1st, the incident began, he said, as a simple case of mistaken identity. Gordon claimed he thought he was speaking to two women he knew in the parking lot when one of the women was actually Heimel's girlfriend, Megan Navarro. Heimel began beating Gordon through his truck window. Gordon testified at the coroner's inquest yesterday that in desperation he reached for the pistol inside his truck.
I was trying to protect myself. I remember at one time he tried punching me. I went like this, and then I couldn't defend myself anymore, and I was over my console, and he just kept hitting me all over the place. And I didn't know when he was going to stop, so I reached down into my center console where I had my gun.
Gordon says he exited his vehicle and then shot Heimel in self-defense.
All I do is see this big guy coming back at me, and I pulled up and shot, and that's what made the split-second decision to shoot or not to shoot. I didn't have time to react at all. I was fearing for my life. Even
though the jury said the shooting was legally justified, Marks says Gordon could still face a civil action by the Heimel family. Montana's race for the U.S. Senate comes to a close today after 18 months of twists and turns. Those surprises include the departure of Democratic political patriarch Max Baucus, a plagiarism scandal that brought down his would-be successor, and the emergence of a political newcomer. Although the Democratic upheaval in the past 1.5 years, Republican candidate Steve Daines is kept out of the fray and stuck to his campaign slogan of less government and more jobs. Now the voters will decide whether Daines' strategy was enough to earn him a victory over Amanda Curtis of Butte and the prize of a Senate seat that Republicans have not held for more than 100 years. An early morning fight at a business in the 1600 block of Wyoming Street on Saturday has sent two men to the hospital, one with a stab wound to the chest. Missoula Police Department Public Information Officer Travis Welsh has more.
It happened at about 1:33 a.m. on Saturday. The report was there was a disturbance between two males. Both had suffered injuries as a result. One had an apparent shallow stab wound to the chest, and another one had facial injuries. Both were transported to the hospital, and the case is under investigation.
Welsh says it does appear that alcohol was a factor in the brawl, but he did not have details about who started the fight. The Air Force yesterday fired two more commanders in its nuclear missile corps and took lesser disciplinary action against a third. The moves were confirmed to the Associated Press in response to an AP inquiry and are fresh evidence of leadership lapses in an arm of the Air Force that suffered several setbacks over the past 2 years, including the firing last year of its top commander. An Air Force spokesman, Lieutenant Colonel John Sheets, said the number 2 commander of the 90th Missile Wing at F.E. Warren Air Force Base, Wyoming, was relieved of his command, as was the commander of the 741st Missile Squadron at Minot Air Force Base in North Dakota. Also at Minot, the commander of the 91st Operations Group was administratively disciplined. A Butte woman has been charged with felony theft of more than $16,000 in workers' compensation benefits after filing what state officials say was a false claim. Melody Collier pleaded not guilty in district court in Helena last week. The Independent Record reports a February 3rd trial date was set. Prosecutors allege Collier tripped and fell at home in April of 2013, but filed a claim with the Montana State Fund, saying she hurt her knee pop, when she stepped down from a walk-in cooler while working at a sandwich shop. She suffered torn cartilage that required surgery. Court records say Collier's boss was suspicious of her claim because she did not report it right away. A few months later, a woman who rented a room to Collier told Collier's boss and state fund investigators that the fall happened at her residence. After weekend number 2 of the general rifle hunting season, the deer harvest is healthy, according to Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks spokeswoman Vivica Krauser.
We're ahead of where we were last year and above the 5-year average as well. Not greatly, but, up a little bit, and a lot of hunter traffic through the 3 check stations and harvest up particularly for the whitetail deer.
However, Krauser says elk numbers continue to be especially low this season for a variety of reasons.
Harvest numbers are really down on elk, especially out of the Blackfoot. But, if you look around and see the mild start we've had to the season weather-wise, that's one piece of it. And we do have places where our hunting regulations are more restrictive for elk, too, which is the other part of the equation, just less hunter opportunity than there was 3, 4, 5 years ago.
And the season continues through the Thanksgiving weekend. The race for the Public Service Commission spot, Chairman Bill Gallagher's seat in November, which is today, pits a former Secretary of State against a 4-term state legislator. Republican Brad Johnson of East Helena was Secretary of State from 2005 to 2008. He says he wants to make sure Montanans have access to utilities that are affordable, reliable, and sustainable, even if that means a rate increase for the short term. Democrat State Republican Galen Hollenbaugh of Helena says his experience with budgets and asking tough questions are needed on a commission that's approved too many rate hikes in the past year. Gallagher's not seeking re-election after being diagnosed with cancer. 100 years, speaking of voting, 100 years ago yesterday, Montana allowed women to vote in elections for the very first time. Governor Steve Bullock had this to say about that historic date.
As the state that elected Jeanette Rankin, the very first woman ever elected to Congress, Montana has a rich history of supporting women's suffrage. On this 100th anniversary of women's suffrage in Montana, we should be proud of our past and to continue to work to ensure all Montanans have access to a defining right of our democracy, a right so many fought for, the right to participate in choosing our leaders. Governor Bullock also said that Montana still, quote, had work to do, end quote, in the fight for gender pay equality. Our News Talk time is 6:10.
Newstalk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station.
Mostly cloudy to cloudy skies with a chance of rain. Temperatures will top out in the upper 40s. Wind out of the west-southwest at 5 to 15 miles per hour, with wind gusts as high as 20. Tonight, chance of showers, lows in the upper 30s. I'm meteorologist Brooke Foster for KECI 13.